Welcome back to Hong Kong, folks. Today I've come into Wanchai with Alyssa, thanks for joining us, to test out the new 28 to 45 from Sigma. Like their 18 to 35 for APS-C, this is the first F1.8 zoom, this time for full frame. But it does come with a number of trade-offs, even compared to the 18 to 35, so let's check it out.
A couple of other things to note about this guy: it has an internal zoom, which means the front element doesn't extend as you zoom from 28 to 45, meaning the center of gravity doesn't move much. Great if you're using it on a gimbal. Also, the aperture is now lockable and declickable, and you'll note it has a second programmable custom function button. This guy's weighing in at 950 grams, which is significantly more than their 24 to 70 F2.8, for example. The 28 to 45 is available in L mount as well as Sony E mount. If you're a Sony Alpha shooter, check out my Alpha setup guide. It takes you through every single full frame camera in the system. It shows you all of the physical controls on each of the cameras, what they do and how to use them, as well as initial setup guides for each camera, and then a complete menu deep dive taking you through Sony's exhaustive menu system, showing you what each of the different options in these highly customizable cameras allows you to do. Full details on that is in the description below.
So as I said, this is being touted as the full frame successor to the 18 to 35. There's some give and take that we have to take into account here. It's not just black and white. First of all, F1.8 as a zoom is much more impressive on full frame than it was on APS-C. The size of the elements and everything grows a lot, which makes it that much more challenging to keep everything looking nice and sharp. So that's a big plus in their favor. That's a great technical achievement. The other thing is, it is about twice the size and twice the price of the APS-C one, so that kind of balances out that technical achievement. The other thing is, if you take into account the crop factor, 18 to 35 becomes like a 27 to 52.5 millimeter. So this isn't nearly as wide, 28 to 45, which makes it, I think, the smallest zoom range of, yeah, you just go for it. Which I think makes it the shortest zoom range. Yep, well, we are standing in a walkway. Take 472, which I think makes it the narrowest zoom range of any lens that I can think of. For example, the 18 to 35 is like a 1.9 something zoom range if you take into account the widest to the long. Even a 14 to 24, which is a tiny range, that's 1.71 zoom range. So this being 1.6, I can't think of anything that's got a narrower zoom range. Let me know if you can think of one. The other thing to keep in mind, something like a 14 to 24, every millimeter really counts when you're at the ultra wide. The change in frame from 14 to 15 mil is much more than, say, 44 to 45 mil. So my first hands-on has been, whilst it's cool that it covers almost three really great focal lengths, 28 mil, 35, and almost 50 mil, it's very narrow, and I don't know that it would give me the variety that I would need, like backs of heads, fronts of heads, different strangers walking through your shot. Let's move to another place. Look down this way. Very pretty.
Now, to give us some reference, I shot the 28 to 45 at 35mm at a variety of different apertures, and then compared it to the 24 to 70 DG-DN Mark II at f2.8 at 35mm, as well as the 35 to 150 Tamron at f2 and f2.8, and the 35mm f1.4 Sigma at a variety of apertures. They'll be included in the downloadable sample files below. As we were shooting, this gorgeous corgi came past, which both Alyssa and I were calling to say hello, and when its owner allowed it to, it just went mental, and Alyssa had to fight hard to not get wet paw prints all over her white pants. Little Donut had a lot of energy, and he was a lot of fun.
So look, when the 18 to 35 came out, it was really quite groundbreaking. Not to say that this isn't, because it is still the first 1.8 zoom. I don't want to diminish that, but the playing field has changed now in 2024. We have things like Canon's ridiculous 28 to 70. That's a constant f2, so slightly slower on the aperture, but it's getting you all the way through to 70 rather than 45. Admittedly, it's more than double the price, and it's about the size of a VW Beetle. But there are some other options out there, like the Tamron 35 to 150. It's an f2 to 2.8, but if you compare the size, it is a couple of 100 grams heavier, but it's not that much bigger until you zoom it out to 150. So I think we have to acknowledge that whilst they claim this has image quality that is better than their 24 to 70, their 50 and their 24, it is substantially bigger and more expensive than the brand new 24 to 70 or the 24-14 as well. I'm really kind of struggling to see who's going to make use of this with such a limited range. Who does the 1.8 versus 2.8 really make a big difference to, other than those who just want something that's different to the norm? Let's shoot with it some more. Maybe I'll find some more use cases. The one that really jumps out at me is probably video, guys, because it doesn't extend, the focus doesn't change as you're zooming, that kind of thing. Seems like it has pretty good focus breathing as well. But again, it's a really narrow range. I'm not sure if this offers much advantage over just having a couple of primes that would be significantly smaller and lighter.
한겨울밤 동안 시간을 보내 차가운 바람은 숨은 것 같아요. 하루 종일 놀다 지친 아이들은 꿈의 그림 잘 밟고 있어요. 그러나 난 지금 멀리서 오는 한 손님을 기다렸죠.
Yeah, walk towards me.
긴 하얀 눈이 내려요. 잠 못 이루도록 섰는 길 위로.
Okay, so just on cue, so funny, I just got back from Iceland, we had perfect weather, and now we're back to Hong Kong, and it's a typhoon. Anyway, using this guy, it is faster focus. The image quality on camera looks really nice. Great that it has all of the custom buttons and everything, but we really need to see the image quality. I really don't know if who this is really suitable for. given the price and size, who the trade-off makes sense for. Hopefully the image quality is great, so let's go check it out. And reminder, you can download some sample files below. Make sure you check out Alyssa's Instagram. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll see. Why do I wave goodbye? I'll see you in the studio. Bye-bye. Weird.
Okay, folks, so I have to say the shooting experience with this lens was great, fine, no problem shooting in those overcast and then rainy conditions. Focus was quick, quite accurate, not perfectly quick like on walking towards me in this scene. I was at 1/500th of a second, and still some of the images in the series weren't pin sharp. I guess it didn't quite keep up with her brisk walk through the market. But the image quality, I have to say, it's crazy sharp. The detail and the fine detail in the face is coming up really, really nicely. But having said that, it really isn't a lens for close-up portraits. So on a wide shot like this on the A7 IV, you don't get that close. This taken at 45mm. And when you go in close at sub 50mm, you're going to start to get a bit of distortion coming in. That's just the nature of those kind of focal lengths that are a little bit wider. So the thing I'm still struggling with is who is this focal length suitable for? I think the sharpness and the contrast is looking good. There was definitely no outstanding problems with shooting with it. But taking a look at, say, the bokeh, this is at 1.8, so wide open. It's soft enough, but I wouldn't say it's like particularly buttery. It's not super busy, but it's not amazing. Taking a look, and you can download some sample files. There's more to download than I'm showing here. Taking a look, this is with the 35 to 150, so 35 at f2 versus 1.8. Not a big difference in terms of bokeh, and you'll note there's a lot more glass in the 35 to 150 comparing to the 28 to 45. Whilst the front elements are pretty much the same, a lot more glass in the real estate on that guy. And of course 150, being able to go out to that focal length gives you a lot more range in terms of the kind of suitable subjects for its use. Taking a look at this one on the 35-1.4, overall I think it has better image quality than the 28 to 45. May be true that the 24 and the 50, this new guy outperforms. I didn't have all of the lenses to compare, but the 35 is a fantastic lens. I don't know where it is, this guy. Probably the lens that really spurned the rebirth in Sigma those years ago. Keep going here. I really do like the tones and everything on this 28 to 45. I just, for me personally, would really struggle with the focal length. For its size and weight and price, it's too narrow for me. 28 and 35 for me are street photography focal lengths, and this is not exactly street photography dimensions. If it was like this, and I don't need a shallow depth of field for that, I would just go for 24 to 70 if I wanted the range. I would much rather go for a 28 or 35 prime, and if it was for landscape through to street, then I would want it starting a whole lot wider, so I'd be looking at something like a 16 to 35 or an 18 to 35, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think if the focal length works for you and only you are going to be able to answer that, then it's a fine option. Just don't expect the butteriest bokeh that you would get off, say, a 35-1.4. You're looking at more like you get with something like this variable aperture 35 to 150 f2 to 2.8 lens. Anyway, thank you to Alyssa for joining us for that rainy day of shooting. Check out her social media below. Download those sample files, and you can also check out that Sony Alpha setup guide. Cheers, guys. I'll see you soon.